Some people are wondering, what is an overall summary of podcast Serial? Well, it is based around a high school senior named Hai Min Lee, who disappeared one day after school in 1999 in Baltimore County. A month later, her body was found in a city park. She'd been strangled. Her 17-year-old ex-boyfriend, Adnan Syed, was arrested for the crime, and within a year, he was sentenced to life in prison, although he still proves his innocence to this day.
Some questions have speculated about Adnan's innocence. So did Adnan hire Jay to kill Hay? And did Jay turn on him? Some people believe that Adnan hired Jay to kill Hay, and then Jay turned on Adnan.
What is the explanation?
I think that there could have been some sort of money in it or something. That would have been the reason, or it could be one reason why Jay may have turned on him, because they were best mates. They were best mates the day before. They were going out buying, they were on the day of it, they were buying stuff for Jay's girlfriend, and suddenly Jay's turned on him. So there must have been something that happened. That's what I believe. I believe there was some sort of money in it or something. What are your thoughts?
I agree.
And I agree.
Yeah, agree.
They all agree.
That's good.
The moment in the case was when Hayes' body was discovered by an anonymous person named Mr. S. People believe that Mr. S found the body and tried to give blame to some other people in Hayes' life. Do you guys think he's trying to pass the blame on to other people?
Well, I honestly think, my opinion, that he's innocent. I think that, he's just found the body. He was trying to urinate. He stopped to urinate. That's what he did there. And he came across it, which, it does sound a bit suspicious, but honestly, that's the only thing that involves him in the case.
Man had to pee, so he got out of the car and found the body.
Yeah. That's the only way he related to the case at all. All right. Yeah. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I sort of agree. I think it's suspicious.
Maybe he thought if he found the body, people won't really suspect him because he's the one that found it. But it's kind of just Among Us sussy, self-reported shit.
It is, eh?
Now, some people ask, what was Sarah's opinion of Mr. S? He was cooperative and nice until she found out that he was a streaker. Yet she still likes Adnan, although he's a convicted murderer. This shows some bias. This shows some comparison between the Serial podcast and the 21st century, a society where you can be forgiven for murder, but anything involving nudity is seen to be such an unforgivable crime.
Yeah, well...
Yeah, get your willy out.
Honestly, though, there is a bit of biasness there, of course. Sarah does... look, Sarah's backing a side. She's backing a convicted murderer's side over... over a streaker. She doesn't like Mr. S because he's a streaker, but she
and
still
that's really the only
backs up
reason.
Adnan.
She even said he was cooperative with the police and everything, and he was a nice person and innocent.
Yeah.
So...
Right, but no, it does relate to the 21st century because a lot of things like that these days, murders, they're not... People aren't getting too much time in jail these days for murders like that, and everything. So...
Yeah, it's really only a couple of years now.
And there's not enough room in the jails.
Yeah.
Plus bail, you can just get a get out of jail free card.
Yeah, exactly.
Monopoly.
Yeah, and then things like streaking. It's considered kind of normal in this day and age nowadays, but...
football games and all that sort of thing, you expect someone to streak.
Of course.
Yeah, with increased
drug
and
and
alcohol use, it's kind of...
It's expected.
Yeah, exactly.
Expected, yeah.
Yeah, no. You're going to get known more for being a streaker,
And plus, you have first offences. If it's your first offence, you won't really get much of a penalty. It will probably just be a fine or something. You won't really get jail time.
True. Yeah, exactly. Like I said in the last point about how Sarah was, biased to Mr. S, it brings up a big question, is Serial Podcast biased? And, there's a few points behind it too. Sarah Cohen's information about the case is mostly about, what she heard from Rabia, who defends Adnan. She's Adnan's lawyer. This could also show that they're only talking about Adnan's side of the story. And another reason why the Serial Podcast could be biased is that after Sarah Koenig talked to Adnan's side, she described him as someone who doesn't look like he'd strangle his girlfriend. She described him also as having giant brown eyes like a dairy cow, and this shows that Sarah is showing Adnan some sympathy, which may have shaped the podcast. What do you guys think?
I think she likes him.
Yeah, I think that
there's a bit of a liking going on there.
yeah,
Yeah, and like in the podcast, she really only provides evidence of why Adnan is not guilty.
Yeah, exactly.
The only real evidence she provides that he could be guilty is in the first episode where she shows, like, the time that Adnan can't remember.
the 21 minute, the time frame.
The time frame where he was at track practice.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, she just kind of provides evidence.
It's like
of why
a
he's not
love
guilty.
story going on.
Yeah, like
And
a
she
bit of
doesn't-
Romeo and Juliet.
She doesn't
Yeah.
really try to get all the actual like police documents and that. She's just going off Rabia's
Exactly,
not
yes.
guilty documents.
I mean, I think she may have got a bit into it, like with the police, like with all that stuff. But most of her information, I think, was from Rabia, and you could tell by the way she, formally addressed it in the podcast. So that also brings us to another question: is Adnan Syed the killer? And currently, Adnan is in prison for the murder of Hae Min Lee, his ex-girlfriend, who he supposedly strangled when he was 17. Well, no, maybe he was 18.
One of the two ages.
Yeah, sorry about that, sir. But he still has maintained his innocence during the decades in prison, which makes us really think, is he the killer? Like,
Or is he not?
yeah, well, the thing is, he still, to this day, he still says that he's innocent. He proves his innocence.
He could be innocent, and there's no actual video footage
There's
of it.
no evidence.
There's just, there's a bit of evidence there, but there's, like, that draws into the case. There's a lot of evidence,
That
actually.
also brings us to the next question. Well, really the last question of this whole base.
Yeah.
Was the court biased?
Was the court biased?
Well,
There was no physical evidence that connected Adnan to the case, besides a testimony against him from one of his old friends. Let's not forget the time period the trial was held. There could be racial stereotypes against Adnan, which could have affected the outcome. What do you guys think?
Well, if you think about it, the court, whenever it was back in the day when it happened,
Yeah,
there was a lot of stereotype of those type of people.
exactly.
And the court was very biased, and there was always one side. So if you had more money in court, you would always win back in the day.
Yeah, like it always is. I mean, like, you're always gonna have a better chance with a better lawyer, aren't you?
especially if they've got money.
Yeah, but no.
And this guy didn't really have any money.
I honestly think the court is. I don't really think it's too biased, but at the same time it is, because I don't think they've got enough evidence that connects Adnan to the case.
Yep.
Like, I mean, he's the main suspect, and he has been for years. That's why he's been convicted
Yeah.
of
But if there was more evidence, the story could be told
Exactly.
in a
It could
different
be,
way.
the story could enlarge a lot more. Like there
Yeah.
could be more information about it.
Yeah, it's a shame no one's found any new routes into this, because it still could be a big mystery. Like, maybe Adnan is not the killer. I mean, I honestly think, well, it's hard to say. I don't know if he is or if he's not, because there is a lot of evidence pointing towards him. But from the podcast, from the serial source,
Yeah.
it's kind of saying that he's not really. Like, it's really proven his innocence.
Yes, it is.
If I had a look from another point of view,
What the person needs to do is get police evidence, video footage,
yeah.
and people's word on what happened.
yeah, they're
So
not
he's
always
only-
reliable, but
So he's
yes.
only getting one side of it. We
Yeah.
believe it could be true or false.
Exactly. Well, thank you for listening, guys. See you out.